Hey, I'm so excited today. I always feel a little bit looser when I'm not preaching. I'm not preaching today. I assure you, I'm far more friendly on Sundays that I'm not preaching. So this is he seems nice today. I'm not preaching. That's about the only time that I come across nice. So it's great. I'm so excited for the word today. I'm going to ask you as I invite her up here to stand to your feet. Today you're going to hear from my favorite preacher, Bethany. Jack, give her a warm welcome. Let's go.
Thank you. Good morning, Church for the One. Are you thrilled to be here this morning? Yeah, I am too. And hey, listen, you never really know with spring break if like 10 of you are going to be here. But I'm glad more than 10 of you came today. This is awesome, and I am so honored and privileged. Kevin already welcomed several people, but I have one more person to welcome online, if that's okay. I met my friend Natalie yesterday. Natalie was supposed to be with me here this morning. Somebody in her family got injured, and she had to be there. So Natalie, we welcome you. We're thrilled we're here, and we're all super excited to see you next week, right? So awesome. So let's get started in the passage. This morning we're going to read out of Matthew 9, verses 35 through 38. Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, "The harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest and ask him to send more workers into his fields." Aren't we thankful for God's word today? So incredibly thankful. All right, today's sermon is titled, "It's Both." So I need you to say that to someone next to you and go ahead and have a seat. I'm always honored and privileged when I get the privilege to speak up here. Just so you know, when Kevin doesn't preach, it's not like he has the week off. If I'm preaching, that actually means he works twice as hard. I don't know if you and your spouse have ever tried to do something together, like IKEA furniture. This is in the same category, okay? I did not go to school for preaching. I went to school for teaching. So if things get bad, I'll pull out my puppets and we'll learn a phonics song, okay? No, but Kevin, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for how you lead our family, and I'm thankful that you're willing to be patient with me to live out God's calling on my life. So I have to tell you that 2 weeks ago, Sydney Reed and I got to travel to Nicaragua. We got to go represent Church for the One, scope out some different partnerships for the future. And I have to be really, really honest with you, okay? Because what you see is what you get, and I don't want you to get the Instagram version of me. About 3 days before the trip, I was thinking, why am I going? This is a terrible time. I teach school online. I have about 250 kids I'm responsible for, and all of my kids' like formal logs were due. Like I have to go into their profile, I have to get info, I have to post it on their log. State testing is coming up, so we have to do all these extra prep sessions. It's kind of a crazy time. The day before we left, Kevin told you that we've been building a house. We moved into the house the week before, and the day before we're supposed to close on our current home, and our buyer backed out. And all of a sudden, I'm going, I cannot go on this trip. I'm gonna have to repaint things and redo carpet, and we have to sell this house, and this is terrible, terrible timing. And then the funny part is I kept thinking, and I have to preach in 3 weeks, and I'm not ready. And can I tell you how awkward that would have been if I would have canceled the trip so I could work on my sermon on missions? Yeah, that would have been a little bit awkward, but it wasn't a good time. And I was really stressed and literally cried, and I don't cry that kind of tears often, but going, I can't go, this is too much. And first of all, I want to tell you that voice wasn't from God. I learned that very quickly. That was everything else in my life trying to keep me from going. And Sydney and I went, and we got there. And there were several moments in the trip that God spoke so clearly to me. And I'm gonna tell you about one of them. We traveled 2.5 hours one day. We had to get in pickup trucks because our van wouldn't make it. I don't call them roads. They were not roads. Have you ever been on the safari ride at Animal Kingdom? And they're like, hold on, hope we make it. No, I lived that in real life. Like canyons and creeks, and I'm going, there's no chance, no chance we're gonna get there. There were no bathrooms. We had to stop at outhouses. It was rough. It was very rough. And 2.5 hours later, we pulled up to this church. And Ashley said in there that not everybody goes by time in different countries. It's about the event. And our mission coordinator kept saying, don't look at the clock. It's about the event. And can I tell you, I learned something then, that sometimes my time maybe takes over the priority of the event in my life. I'm so focused on, am I gonna be there in time? Are we gonna be done in time? I gotta get to the next thing in time, that sometimes I lose the importance and the focus of the actual event. And I thought about even here on Sundays, am I so focused on what's next that I'm missing the importance of the event? And we pulled up to this church in our pickup trucks. I have no clue what to expect. I'm a little nervous. And we get out of the truck, and this place is so full. Like there's not a single chair left. And when we get there, the people are so excited, and they get up out of their seats to give us their chairs. And there's people outside looking in the windows because there's not enough space. We were coming to these people as their first visitors in over 20 years to their village. The children had never seen people with this color skin. This is true. They don't have transportation. They can't get to the big cities. And the little girl sitting next to me kept rubbing my hand and playing with my hair. And I stood up on the stage to sing our songs. We had groups, we had songs we had learned. And we started singing Goodness of God. And everything washed over me of being exactly where God needed me in that moment. To sing, all my life you have been faithful, all my life you have been so, so good. And I stood there and I worshiped with people who I had never met before that have very, very little, and they were singing with all that they had with their arms raised up saying, God, you are so, so good. And I thought, Father, thank you. Thank you for not making me stay home when I thought that I was too busy and that I had too many problems to be on this trip. God, thank you for giving me this opportunity to refocus my priorities. And the whole trip was like that. We went to the district office and we did some construction, which was hilarious, okay? For me, anyway. I had a sledgehammer and I was supposed to knock down a wall. Yep, you guys don't see the humor in this. That's not something I can do. But my first swing was a big swing and a miss. And I went all the way around. There's a video somewhere. I did not search hard to find it for you. They had us concreting things, and the locals were just standing there giggling because Sydney and I were so bad at it. And that wasn't the point. We were there to help. We were there to get to know these people, to help resource them and build relationships. And we got to see their Bible college, which is an incredible ministry to teach pastors. And then we visited 7 local churches, and it was incredible. It was incredible to see what God is doing on the other side of the world, and this vision that he's given to be obsessed with the one everywhere we are. It was an awesome trip, and I'm so, so thankful that I got to be a part of it. So in this verse that we just read, it talked about seeing and having compassion. Now, I want to tell you that I grew up in a home that was very missions oriented. I wish every single one of you could have met my mom. I don't know anybody else more passionate about missions than my mom was. And they went on trips every summer. My dad spent several summers in Bolivia when he was in college. My mom got to help medical missions trips. She was a nurse, so she would go over and help. That was what I grew up in. We always had the missionaries stay at our house. But compassion isn't something you can inherit. Compassion is something you have to experience. And I started to see when I was little all of these faces. My mom loved to take photos. And in our laundry room, the laundry room was filled of people's faces from all over the world that she had met. And I know that when she walked into the laundry room, she was reminded of stories of people that she had gotten to know and probably that had impacted her. Those faces didn't mean the same for me. They were pretty. I didn't know their story. I didn't have a memory. It's not something that can be inherited. It's something you have to experience. And in verse 36, it said, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. His harvest is great. So why are we not seeing a great harvest? Maybe there's something in your life, somebody that you're really wanting to see come to know God, or maybe you want to see your community impacted, or neighbors or family. What harvest isn't coming to fruition yet? Well, there might not be a great harvest because we have few workers. And you think, okay, well, we can do that. Well, but why are we not? Why are we not all working towards his great harvest? Well, it says that the few workers are because we don't have compassion. See, in verse 36, it says he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless. But why don't we have compassion? Well, it wasn't until he saw them. It says when he saw the crowd, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. The harvest wasn't great. They didn't have enough workers because they lacked compassion, because they didn't see yet. So how can we fix that? Well, if we're able to see the problem, he saw the crowds. Then we're able to gain compassion, to have a great compassion, and then we'll have more workers. And then in return, we'll have a great harvest. It's not our harvest, it's his harvest. But unless we're able to work together, unless we're able to see the compassion that we need to have for people around us, we won't have a great harvest. When I taught elementary school, I taught first grade in Maysville, Kentucky. And Maysville is a really cool area that has a very wide spread of needs. And I was 20 years old when I got my first teaching job. And our district superintendent required home visits for every student in your classroom. Okay? That's scary. When you're 20 years old, I always made somebody come with me, whether it was Kevin and he was reading on his books about how to read books, or teenagers, or somebody. I would make one of our youth kids, Haley, that was just up here. I'm pretty sure she had to go with me one day because I was not going to go by myself. It was not safe. And there were a lot of teachers that complained about having to do home visits. But we would get to these houses, and when you see what your student comes from every day, that changed my heart. And it was hard for me to have compassion just to stand in my classroom and welcome them in every day. I mean, I loved them, but when I saw what they came from, my compassion for them grew. And it made me really want to work hard that they would come to know Jesus, because my students all had different needs. Some of them did need to learn how to read and write. Some of them needed a hug, or needed a snack, or needed shoes. And one little girl named Autumn, she was in my very first class. Autumn met me at the door of her house. She opened it up with the biggest smile, and she said, "Mrs. Jack, I'm so excited. I want to show you my bed." And I'm like, awesome. And you never knew what was going to greet you at the door. There was times it was slammed in my face. There were times people were not fully clothed. You never knew. And so Autumn came to the door. She's so excited. And she said, "This is my bed." And it was in the kitchen. And it was a mat next to the fridge. This is not in Nicaragua or Africa. This is in America. And Autumn showed me her bed, and she said, this is my bed. And then she showed me her tote that had the few outfits that she owned. Now, that did not change my expectations for Autumn. She still was gonna leave my classroom being an all-star. But it did change my compassion for her situation. And if I wouldn't have seen that before school started, I think I would have gotten more frustrated when she kept falling asleep in my class, because I didn't understand what she came from. So it's so important that if we're able to see need around us, our compassion is gonna grow. And the more of us that work on this together, the greater the harvest we're gonna have for His kingdom. And so I encourage you to look around and to see what needs are around you. I want you to move from being a bystander to becoming a worker. I also don't want you to become callous to needs that you might see every single day. This might be somebody in your neighborhood. This might be somebody that's your child's teacher. This might be somebody that you order coffee from at Starbucks every day. Don't become callous to those around you. I want you to see the needs so that your compassion will grow. It'll change how you live day to day. So, Bethany, do I need to see or do I need to go? It's both. Go ahead, tell your neighbor, it's both. It's both, yes? Well, do I need to have compassion or do I need to work? It's both. It's both. Go ahead, tell your neighbor, it's both. Yeah. Recently, my friends Mike and Jill had a baby, and she's the cutest thing ever. And do you know when meal trains go out when people have surgery? Okay, you're familiar. Side note, many years ago, I signed up to take a friend a meal, and I forgot. That's embarrassing, okay? I don't know if anybody else has done that. Since then, I set like 6 different reminders in my calendar. You're taking a meal tomorrow. You're taking a meal tomorrow. I just want to make sure that never happens again. That was not very compassionate of me. So Mike and Jill have a baby, and I picked this Saturday, and I thought, this will be great. Saturday's easy. I'm going to take them a meal. And Saturday is arriving, and it is sports for the ones, tournament weekend. And I was like, oh, I didn't think that through. And we had kids playing in tournament games, and no offense, Jack children, but typically we don't go very far in those, so I thought I was safe. I thought, this is fine. We'll play our one game, one and done, and then we get to go home. And listen, some of you sports fans are like, oh, that breaks my heart. I'm like, it's okay. We're good. Good effort. So this particular Saturday, we kept winning. And I'm like, ugh. Mom of the year. So they kept winning, and I kept thinking, oh no. So I text Mike and Jill, and I'm like, hey, what do you want for dinner? Anything you want. Secretly thinking, please say takeout, right? Okay. So Jill texts back, and she said, we'd love Culver's. And I'm like, praise Jesus. This is gonna be great. I can order it on my phone. I can pick it up. I had about 7 minutes to drop off this food before I needed to get to a championship game. And so I order my food, it is ready. That's a miracle in itself. I walk in, I get the food, I get to their door, and I knock, holding the door, my food, literally like this, because I'm gonna run, okay? And Mike opens the door and he says, we need help. And I was like, oh no. Like, that was quite a greeting. And so I walk in, and the sweet little baby had a massive blowout, okay? All of you parents that have had newborns understand this. It was not small. It was all over the pillows. It was all over Jill. It's all over the baby. And they're looking at me and they go, we don't know what to do. I was like, okay. So I set the food on the counter. I grabbed the pillows. I start scrubbing those. I said, give me the baby. By the way, when you've had 4 kids, you maybe handle a newborn a little differently than when it's your first. So they probably were terrified. But I'm like, here, she's fine. And I run down the hallway. and I start using their entire pack of wipes. This child had gotten it up to her neck and under her armpits, and like, you don't even know how this is possible. And I'm wiping her down, and I said, go get the bath ready. Meanwhile, Mike's kind of gagging as he goes to get the bathtub. And they set up the bathtub on the counter. I put the baby in the bath. You know, I'm wiping her down. We get her clean, and everything's good. And they looked at me and they said, thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to us. We didn't know what to do. And funny enough, I run back out to my van. I had left the car on and the driver's door open. And I'm really thankful it was still there. That would have been really awkward if I had to ask them for a ride home from bringing them a meal for their newborn baby. So I get to the game, everything was fine, and they texted me a couple more times and said, thank you so much. You have no idea how much that meant. Take it back a few weeks. There's Gia now, she's very excited about her story. Take it back a few weeks ago, and when I clicked submit to take them a meal, I'm thinking, no big deal. $30 meal, I'll drop it off, nothing. God had a different plan for that serving opportunity. It was more than a $30 meal. I met a physical need by feeding them, but I also met a relational, emotional need by giving them support in a moment that they felt a little bit lost. Being a first-time parent and having something happen, I was able to step in and say, I have some experience with this. Let me help you. I left that thinking, this is just like mission work. Often we think, what, I can't do construction. VBS, how beneficial is that really? One time. And then we show up and God uses our giftings in a whole new way that we couldn't even imagine. And you know what? They were blessed. But I was really, really blessed that I was able to help. So was I there to meet their physical need or their emotional need? It's both. It's both. Say to your neighbor, it's both. In fact, when we were at this church in Nicaragua, I kept looking out this window because there were so many people, and there were some girls out there, and they looked a little skeptical of us. Fair, right? And they kept giggling and snickering, and I kept saying, come on in. And they're like, no chance. And I kept saying, come in, it's so fun. We gave the kids little stickers. They hadn't seen stickers before. They didn't know how to peel off the back, okay? Like, this is huge. We're doing all these cool things with them. The kids are so excited, and I couldn't get these girls to come in. And so after a few times of trying, I thought, I'm gonna go to them. So I get up, I walk outside, stepped over all the dogs, because they're everywhere. And I get outside to the girls, and I'm trying. I don't know Spanish very well. Muy pequeño, español, no bueno, okay? That's how I'm getting it out. Some of you are like, what the world? Yeah, so are they. So I got out there, and I'm trying to explain to them. I'm like, my girls are your age. Apparently, I was telling them my sisters are their age. They were like, no chance. And I kept telling them, I have girls your age. And I realized that sometimes we need to be here and be ready for people to come in. But sometimes we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go and meet people where they are because they're not willing to come in. And part of our call on our life is to be obsessed with the one. And we are thrilled every single time a visitor walks in our door, but we need to be okay with not just that. We need to be willing to go find the people that haven't walked in our door yet and have a call on their life as well. So do we need to be ready here, or do we need to go out? It's both. It's both. You guys are getting the hang of this. Tell your neighbor, it's both. It's both. Here at Church for the One, you hear all the time, we want you to experience community, encounter God, claim your purpose, pursue your calling. And you say, okay, well, is missions really for us, or is it for the people we're serving? It's both. With Mike and Jill, I didn't plan to be blessed by dropping them off a meal. But God has greater plans when we serve. In fact, I want to tell you a little cheat really quick, okay? I teach school. I'm not normally a fan of cheating, But I'm gonna give you this one little tip. If you start serving locally or globally, you're gonna get to experience all 4 of those things. Anybody else like to get all the check boxes, all the gold stars, like you're a task-oriented person, and they say those 4 things from the stage and you go, how do I do all of that? Serve. You're gonna experience community. Sydney and I went as friends. We are so close now. We send each other silly reels. You know, when you share a room with somebody in a foreign country and you're not allowed to use toilet paper, you're not allowed to flush toilet paper, that's a big difference. And you can't drink the water, you get to know somebody really, really well. I experienced community that week with Sydney, unlike any other. In fact, the first night they asked if I was her mom. Sydney is 24 years old. More of you should be laughing. I am not old enough to be Sydney's mom. But we are super close now, and we experienced community. And some of you are saying it's hard to connect at a big church. I don't know if this is the place for me. Have you tried serving? You're gonna get a chance in a minute to sign up, just in case you're wondering. Have you tried serving? Have you tried meeting people's needs next to other people that want to do the same? I can tell you many, many times I encountered God. I told you one. All of them involved tears. I know you're all shocked. But I saw God so many times on that trip. And he taught me how to claim my purpose as to what I have for the future of serving for me. And he also taught me how to pursue my calling. I have a passion for this. I think he will do that for you as well. So I want you to see how we're doing this through Church for the One, okay? I'm gonna show you a couple different opportunities, and I don't want you to sit and wait to sign up at the end. You're gonna have a QR code. You can do it right now while I'm talking. But first I wanna talk about the Highland Park campus. We have several local groups that are serving and working, and we would love for you to join them. We have different drives throughout the year. We're gonna have a Kids Pack drive. I'm gonna tell you more about that in a minute. We had 1,636 items donated last year for the Kids Pack drive. Kids Pack is a local ministry that we pack food up for elementary school kids that don't have food on the weekends. We have about 100 kids that we feed every week, and we send 360 to 400 meals to Kids Pack. We serve these 3 elementary schools: South McKeel, Carlton Palmer, and Oscar J. Pope Elementary School. This is not just Church for the One, this is all over. You might wanna be a part of Kids Pack. It's one Thursday night a month. You come here and you serve. This is a great, great ministry. We also did backpack drives. So we did senior adult gifts for people that needed some Christmas gifts. We did disaster relief when the hurricanes came through. I know that sounds silly to plan now, but guess what? We don't know when the next disaster will be. If we did, that would be scary. But we don't know, so we need you to sign up so that the next time something's coming, we can say, hey, we need you to come help. Okay? Disaster relief is so important. We've had a 10-year partnership with the Dream Center. The Dream Center is in North Lakeland, and it is so good at helping the community there. They help feed people. They walk around and go door to door asking to pray with people. They have a Saturday kids club. They have devotionals they send out. This is right in our backyard, right here in Lakeland. And maybe you want to be a part of the team that helps the Dream Center. You can do this at age 2 or at age 92. There's so many ways you can get involved. We have a SALT group. This is some of the people from our church. This is brand new to me. I did not know about this. Did you know that within 7 high schools surrounding here, we have 260 students who claim homeless? I'm gonna say that again. Right here in Lakeland, we have 260 high school students that don't have an address. Were you aware of that? I was not. The SALT group provides packs for them of snacks and toiletries and school supplies and things they need. And this last year, they handed out 1,600 blessing bags. We also have a prayer team. They have 52 people on their prayer team. They're signing up 11 more. This prayer team prays for our church staff here and families. They pray for the different ministries going on. And they told me that they need 5 more people to start praying. Do you think we could do that? Like five people? This ministry is incredible, and they send cards of encouragement and they pray for people. I'm trying to get you to see that just because you can't swing a sledgehammer, there's still more work to do. And whether you're able to sit and pray, or whether you're able to give financially, or whether you're able to do physical labor, there's things for all of us to do. So you can sign up with that QR code. North Lakeland has incredible partnerships. They worked with Sleepy Hill Elementary to hand out shirts to students. They gave Thanksgiving meals to families in need. They blessed a family this Christmas. This family didn't have anything. They collected 100 gifts. I first thought, wow, that's really, really generous. Well, guess what? I don't think we can outgive and be too generous, right? That's not a thing. So North Lakeland did an incredible job, and they're partnering with the YMCA there to make connections with people in their community. There are so many ways to be involved. In fact, it's not just with our local missions. You heard Ashley's story with Rwanda. Rwanda is this partnership. I want you to see that in the global missions, we're doing so much as well, and I want you to be a part of it. Rwanda, we've been going for 13 years, and we've sent 7 teams. We started a school that now has over 200 students, grades K through 8. And some other people help fund it, but it's through the generosity of Church for the One that we're able to keep their buildings maintained, and we're able to provide bathrooms and clean drinking water for them. This is because of your generosity to build His kingdom that we're able to do amazing things like this in Rwanda. And guess what? Next June, we're going back. And if you have been, or if you haven't been, we need you. You're like, well, Bethany, it's really expensive. I don't know. Let's figure that out. I don't want that to be something that holds you back. In fact, maybe you can't go physically, but you want to sponsor someone to go. That's allowed. Come see me. We want to make it possible for everybody to go to Rwanda to help. In fact, we also have 3 churches that we've partnered with. I learned a little bit about Rwanda because I haven't gotten to go yet. But in 1994, they had a genocide where 800,000 people were killed. 1994. Quick show of hands. Who was alive in 1994? That was not that long ago. I think sometimes we think crazy things like this happened long, long ago and it doesn't happen anymore. Well, that's not true. The country has been rebuilding and working on forgiveness and working on unity, and they're no longer different groups of people, they're now Rwandans. And we get to come alongside of them through this process and help build these churches. The government has been shutting down churches that don't meet the requirements, and our 3 local churches have not only been growing, but they've been providing space for these churches that got shut down. We can do so much as a church. And in fact, it's not just here in Lakeland, and it's not across the globe. Even in Florida, our denomination, the Nazarene denomination, has been a part of 18 church plants. That's incredible. We've been a part of 18 church plants and 5 restart churches that average over 1,400 in attendance. I just want you to see that it's so much more than just filling Kids Pack or going on a trip. I want you to see that it's a lifestyle that we choose to live to serve others. And we talked about disaster relief, and I got to think about, when we lived in Beaver Creek, Ohio, we had a tornado come through. And it was the craziest thing. I know you guys have experienced it with hurricanes. It's really, really crazy when devastation happens and this disaster happens and your lives are completely changed, but an hour up the road, nothing's different, right? Have you experienced this? Well, I got to thinking about how crazy that feeling was, because life as we knew it stopped. School stopped, everybody was helping each other. And I got to think that I don't want a disaster to be what we're waiting for. There might be a disaster in your neighborhood, not a physical disaster. There might be a marriage that's broken. There might be an illness. There might be a need that needs met. I think sometimes when something big like a tornado comes through, we all go, yeah, let's go. But then we have somebody broken next to us and we don't see it. We have to be able to see it, to have compassion. We have compassion to have workers, to have a great harvest. And I want you to be aware that missions is not just packing bags for kids or going on a trip, but it's also next door to you. It might be in your home. We have so much to do as a church. So you might be saying, okay, well, do I have to go on a trip? Well, yeah. Do I have to work locally? Yeah. Do I have to donate? Yep, that'd be great. It's both. Pick a place to start. And you can sign up now. The QR code's here. I don't want you to wait. You can sign up now. We also have this new partnership with Nicaragua. I want you guys to go to Rwanda, and maybe if that one's not possible, we're gonna go to Nicaragua in October. Okay, and I have to tell you that this trip that I went on to scope it out, I went to several different locations, and then I called them this week and I said, okay, give us a project. Give our church a project. We wanna help. And they said, well, yeah, there's this pastor. Her name's Pastor Antonia. And her husband passed away when her kids were very little. And they became homeless. And the Nazarene church took them in. The Nazarene church took in Pastor Antonia. She's right here. And she became the pastor and started preaching to the people around her. She's now has over 200 children that come every single week to their church. But do you know what's interesting? They have no building. But you don't need a building to be a church. Pastor Antonia, for several years now, has been reaching her community with no resources. She feeds 200 kids 3 times a week. They don't have a parsonage, they don't have a building, they don't have a classroom. They were able to purchase land recently. And we get the opportunity to go help and come alongside Pastor Antonia to help provide space so that she can continue reaching more and more people. So right here, you might be interested. There's gonna be a QR code. Maybe you just want more info on Nicaragua or Rwanda. We would love to connect with you. In fact, all 5 out of the 6 Jacks are gonna go on a trip. I'm committing us. Now you say out of 6. Okay, well, 1 has to get a little bit older and a little less talkative before he gets to go. But he will go. I'm so committed that I want my teenagers and my kids to see what's going on someplace outside of Lakeland, Florida. They have gifts to give. I want God to speak through them like he did through me at these trips that says it's not about you. Your problems are small. And look at the good that I'm doing. I'm committed for my family, and I want you to be committed for yours as well. Overall, I want you to know that we're just committed to the one. Kevin shared the 5 things earlier about the chair and the circle. If you didn't watch that one, you need to go back and watch it. And at the end, he said, if you only do one thing, I want you to focus on one person. And I got to see this lived out. We were driving through these roads that weren't roads through Nicaragua, and there was a man we passed on a bicycle. He was an elderly man, and Sydney actually looked at me and said, oh no, I think he's gonna have a heart attack. We should stop. and he was good. He waved at us, and we kept going. And we got to this church, and he showed up at the church because he's the pastor, right here in the middle. He he rides his bike many, many miles. I think they said for 3 hours just to get to his church. He gets there, he does this 3 times a week. He gets there early in the morning, and then he gets on his bike and rides a 3-mile radius of the community to go door to door. He started pastoring here 10 months ago, and the church was running 5 people. I don't know if you can see, this is way more than 5. It was busting out the seams. They didn't have enough space for everybody. He's so committed for the one that he's sacrificing long, hot bike rides to go door to door. And I thought, man, how many excuses do I make? He's riding his bike. I don't even like to ride a bike. But he's using what God has given him to reach his community. And it doesn't just take a pastor on the other side of the world for us to see this. In fact, we have a couple named Ray and Pam that used to attend this 11 o'clock service. They sat right in the center, 3 rows from the back. And God started to nudge them when we planted North Lakeland. And they decided to commit and go to North Lakeland. And then God started tugging on them again, saying, I need you to work with our young adults. And so they started inviting young adults to lunch. And this is their house Friday night. There are 30 young adults there for a game night. We should be celebrating this. Ray and Pam saw a need. They saw a need in our community, in our very own community. And they didn't wait or tell somebody else, hey, we should do something about this. They took the initiative themselves and said, this is how we want to serve. I can't speak for all 30 of them, but I would almost guarantee that they are making an impact on these young adults' lives. Because missions is not just getting on a plane and traveling across the world. It's not just coming to church and waving at people and smiling. Missions can be something so simple that God places on your heart. And I want you to hear that every person in this room can be involved, whether it's financially or a trip or locally. Every person in this room can be involved. And the whole time I was in Nicaragua, I kept hearing that last part of our vision statement about this is church and about empowering leaders. And so I finally said to the mission coordinator, I said, I need you to do something with me, Tony. I said, I'm gonna read this vision statement and then I want you to read it in your language because I believe that Church for the One's vision is way more than Lakeland. I believe it's going to reach people all over the world. So I want you to watch this. Our commitment is to engage 1% of Lakeland in active ministry and to celebrate the baptism of 3,571 people before 2030. While we begin in our neighborhoods, we will not allow our current address to define our future footprint, but will expand in our influence in ethnic diversity.
Nuestro compromiso es involucrar el 1% de Lakeland en el ministerio activo y celebrar el bautismo de 3,571 personas antes del 2030. Si bien comenzamos en nuestro vecindario, no permitiremos que nuestra dirección actual defina nuestra huella futura, sino que expandiremos nuestra influencia y diversidad étnica. Buscamos continuamente generar un mayor impacto al ayudar a las otras iglesias, desplegar líderes, expandirnos en línea y establecer campuses.
This is church.
Esta es la iglesia.